When you go into the portal, you're going to have a view that's somewhat similar to this. In relation to this, I want to make sure that you know that this is a view that is for a large call center company. Not all of you are going to have a view that looks like this. So what you can do is you can see here that you're going to have the navigation bar that's over here on the left. You're going to have all of the opportunities that are in the center here, and then you're also going to have the breaking news section that's on the right side. I want you to pay attention to all of these things because they're all going to be helpful to you. Right now, the most important area is going to be this available opportunities area where you're going to get a lot of helpful information in relation to each program that is currently posted on the portal. They do rotate. Please note that most courses are open and available up until about 1 week before the course starts. That's when we have to send the roster off to the instructor and to the clients for codes and things like that. So if you do not express interest and enroll, at least a week prior, you're not going to get into that particular course. The other thing is that these are done on a first come, first serve basis. So you will be able to go in and get access to opportunity announcements as well. You will be able to go here and click on the green info button. And in that, you will be able to download the opportunity announcement for each individual program. That's so important because you want to make sure that you understand exactly how it works, okay? What that program is all about. Why is that important? Because folks, I will tell you, you are going to really need to know all the ins and outs. You don't want to go into a program where perhaps you are going to have to do some sales support and you're not comfortable doing sales at all. Okay, you want to make sure that you know all the details of those individual programs so that you are comfortable with it and know exactly what you're getting into, okay? The other thing is that we always suggest that you check out this breaking news section. Here in this section, you're going to see an area about the matrix of opportunities. So even if a program is in the portal and you're not particularly interested in what's listed there, check out what's in that matrix that's going to be over here on your right-hand side, because you'll be able to see what could be coming up in the next few weeks. Because as I mentioned, programs rotate on and off the portal at all times. All companies have access to the same exact programs, so know that that is the case and that you will have access accordingly. All right, let's make sure that you are on the right path. First off, you should all know what you need in terms of systems and equipment. Now, folks, I will tell you, I am not a tech specialist. I'm not, okay? However, I am someone who is going to be able to tell you the basic things that you're going to need for these programs. I'm so sorry, folks. I have an important message coming in. Okay, so with that, you're going to definitely need a PC that's running Windows 7 or above, okay? You need to have that. You cannot have Windows XP, Windows Vista, Windows 2000, anything like that. You can have a Mac. That's perfectly fine, but it has to be running Boot Camp with Windows. Okay, so if you decide you're going to use a Mac, that's fine, but you have to make sure it's running Boot Camp with Windows. It's Your computer must have stable, high-speed internet connection. No Wi-Fi is allowed. I'm sorry, folks. I know a lot of people use Wi-Fi these days, but unfortunately, it's not considered stable, so you need to have a true landline connection. You should have a noise canceling headset. What we strongly suggest is that you check out our system and equipment policy guide that's at ariseworkfromhome.com equipment, just like you see on this slide and as Christine put into the chat. From there, you will get a whole list of requirements and things that are going to be helpful to you, including suggestions on what headsets to use and things like that. So that's definitely worthwhile going to ariseworkfromhome.com/equipment to get that information. You will then need a fully hardwired phone as well, which is a plain old telephone system. Should connect to a jack in the wall. Unfortunately, folks, you cannot use Magic Jack, Skype, Google Voice, or Ooma, cell phones, or mobile apps. You can't do that. Dual monitors are strongly recommended on most programs, okay? Very good. All right. The next thing is make sure you check the opportunity announcement for a full list of requirements, okay? You're definitely going to want that because it can change from program to program, so you want to make sure you have all the right equipment. That could also be a reason why you don't want to go into a particular program. You might have to invest in additional equipment, and that might be a hindrance to you at this time. So please make sure you do check that opportunity announcement, again, by clicking the green info button in the portal. So before you can completely enroll in a course, you're going to have to participate in some assessments, whether it be background check, voice assessment, program assessment, drug test, or other secondary background check. You will have to participate in those. So let me tell you a little bit more about it, okay? So in terms of the primary background check, here what's needed is you need a you're going to participate in a criminal history check. Most felony convictions and some misdemeanors will disqualify an agent from a program, and in some cases, the platform in general. People ask me all the time, Erica, what about a speeding ticket or a parking ticket? I don't really care about that. It's okay. It's fine. You can have a speeding ticket. You can have a parking ticket. It's not going to stop you from using the Arise platform. Now, if you do have many speeding tickets or many parking tickets, I don't know if I necessarily would want you using the Arise platform, simply because that sort of speaks to your character in a way. You know, does it mean that you're lazy? Does it mean that you know, you're somewhat irresponsible? Things like that. So maybe that would be a reason. But overall, it's not going to keep you from using the Arise platform. When you do complete the background check, please know that you will have to supply your name, your date of birth, and your social security number. That's how the background check is completed in doing that. So make sure you provide those things and know that is what's going to be needed. In terms of disputes, yes, you can dispute the primary background check. And know that what you'd have to do is reach out to First Advantage, which is the third-party vendor who completes the background checks. Folks, if you are a company owner, I'm going to kindly ask that you not reply to agents' messages. Please allow the moderators to reply to agents' messages so we can provide the most accurate information possible and do that. So please refrain from answering agent messages and allow Arise moderators to do that. That's what they're here for. Thank you. All right. So in terms of secondary background checks, for secondary background checks, please note that you might have to complete some sort of drug test or criminal history check or credit check. It depends on the program. You're going to have to look at the opportunity announcement. It will tell you specifically what type of secondary background check is needed, and you'll have to comply accordingly. Folks, I want to be fully transparent in terms of drug tests. Marijuana is not allowed. I know that there are many states that do allow for both medicinal as well as recreational use of marijuana. Unfortunately, our clients do not necessarily approve of that. So please make sure that you're aware. And know that if you do have to take a drug test, you cannot have marijuana or a subsidiary of marijuana in your system. Folks, I see some questions that are coming into the chat, which is great. So I want to make sure that Christine and Sophia and Stephanie are paying attention to those questions and responding as needed. So folks, please make sure you do that. Thank you so much. All right. The next thing is, if you need to dispute the secondary background check and do that, please make sure that you do reach out to First Advantage as well. And First Advantage will provide the form and process for dispute as needed. From there, if there are any changes, they will make sure that they reach out to Arise and let us know accordingly. Felicia, I see that your hand is raised. I'm sorry, we can't call on people individually. Please make sure that you put your question into the chat. Karen Calhoun, I see you're saying, how do I take the assessment? Well, Karina, I apologize, Karina. I was reading your name too quickly. Karina, what will happen is you'll receive messages through the Arise portal and in your email, depending on what the assessments are and when it's needed, that will let you know exactly how to take the assessments and when you need to do them, so on and so forth. It's when you express interest. And Sandra, there is no cost to the drug test that is forwarded on to you. Okay, please make sure that that you know that Arise covers those costs. Okay. All right. 1 second. All right. Next slide. All right, enrollment voice assessment. So folks, this is kind of an interesting bit here, okay? I always think people go into the enrollment voice assessment thinking that it's actually easier than it might be. It really is to help make sure that, you know, we have people who are using, what do you call it? Sorry, folks. I lost my train of thought there. I forgive me. This is not me. I have to be honest with you. My daughter broke her arm, is what it is. She broke her arm, and I'm supposed to be taking her to the orthopedist later today. I'm getting messages from both my husband and doctors and things like that. It's a matter of multitasking. I love delivering these sessions. I really, really do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off all messages that might be distracting me, including for my own team. I'm so sorry, folks. I have an amazing team. I'm going to let them handle things. I want to make sure that everyone is being completely focused. You deserve that. You really do. You deserve my full focus. And so I'm turning off my messages. I'm doing that. I'm going to stay focused on this presentation. And it's just, as you all know, you know, you're all multitaskers as well. A lot of you do this because you have your families at home and things like that. It's just the way life is. So thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate everyone being thoughtful in their responses and sending their well wishes. She's 3 years old, and yeah, it's kind of hard to have a 3-year-old who's probably going to have a cast on for about a month. So it is what it is. All right. In terms of the enrollment voice assessment, I will tell you, It's a little bit trickier because we want to make sure that everyone is truly native language speakers. And the reason why I say that is because sometimes we have bilingual programs, Spanish bilingual as well as French bilingual, but most of the programs are English speaking. We want to make sure that people are presenting themselves in the best ways. And with that, I will tell you there are a couple things to that voice assessment. First off, you have the part where it asks you to ask them a question, where it'll say, ask me if I walked my dog today. So you say, did you walk your dog today? It seems very simple, right? Of course. But the truth of the matter is that some people where English is a second language, they might say something like, how do you walk your dog today? And we kind of pick up from there that maybe English is not their first language, that they're not going to be as fluent with it, and maybe they're not the right fit for the program. So that's something to think about. The next thing is we have what's called a sentence scramble. And what we typically say to companies that go through this and their agents is we suggest that they have a pen and paper handy. Because what happens is the system will give you a series of words that are in random order. You have to put it together in a sentence. So it might be that the system says walked, dog, I, my, today. You have to put it back together where it says I walked my dog today. That's an easy one. There are many other ones that are far more complicated. So it's a really good idea to make sure that you have pen and paper handy so you can write down the words and then put them back together into the sentence that is needed. Okay. It can be disputed if you end up failing that voice assessment. You would have to reach out to enrollment for support for that through AVA in the Arise portal. The next thing is program assessment. This varies from program to program. Sometimes it's personality related. Sometimes it's skills related. Maybe it's a typing test. Maybe it's, how you present yourself in terms of language. Sometimes we ask for you to write an essay or a brief paragraph, something on those lines. If that's the case, please make sure you take the time to do that. If you write only 3 words, you're not going to pass. You definitely want to take the time to write a thoughtful response to those types of things, okay? You can possibly dispute it. Again, you would have to reach out to enrollment support to make sure that they didn't overlook anything, or that you might have to retake it for some reason. The next thing is affidavits. Affidavits are very important because what they do is they represent who you are. It's essentially saying that you are who you say you are by having it notarized. So what will happen is you'll download the form. You'll get it in the portal when you reach a certain point in the enrollment process. However, I will tell you that Christine has put into the chat exactly where you can download it, so you can do that. Once you have completed the affidavit, you need to email it in to Arise Affidavit of Identification at arise.com. You cannot mail it by snail mail, and you cannot fax it. It needs to be emailed to Arise Affidavit of Identification at arise.com. Very important, you want to make sure that you are sending in a complete affidavit where all the line items are completed in full, dates, signatures, all that stuff. You want to make sure that your photo ID is fully clear. Very important. A lot of times people submit black and white copies of their photo ID. They don't realize that it's not coming out in grayscale, which means that we can't read all the details on your ID. So you want to make sure that you double check whatever you scan in, that it is fully clear and legible. We do suggest sending in color copies because that does seem to work best. You can do that with your phone. You can take a picture of your ID and set it along with your affidavit and do that. That's perfectly okay. You want to make sure that nothing is cut off and that it's easy to read, everything's good. And then lastly, you want to make sure that it's notarized by a true independent third party. You cannot have your company owner notarize it nor can you have a family member, because what'll happen is you'll end up having people that are biased to it. So make sure you know that that is the case. An agent cannot certify if the affidavit is not received by the due date. If already enrolled, the agent will be dropped from the certification course. One thing I forgot to mention is if you're having trouble finding a notary, I will tell you local banks, a lot of post offices, a lot of town halls all have notaries. You can also check cashing places, UPS stores, they tend to have it as well, and do that.